morning, good afternoon, and good night. My name is Marv Fox Jr. This is the Become Podcast. How do you become anything you dream, you declare, you commit, and success is your next breath. So yesterday, I was talking about how AAU has impacted today's basketball player and how it has also impacted the NBA game. And I was creating this narrative around, because we have so many teams and it's no longer a privilege to be a part of a team anymore because you can just pay to play, that now the opportunity to be on the team doesn't mean as much as it used to, because just like you didn't really make that team. You know, some AAU team will put you on some team, right? Some program will put you on some team. So let's say, you know, they may have an elite team that does all the elite travel. They travel out of state. Then they may have a team that travels locally. And then they may have a team that does even, you know, local but really, really soft tournaments. Or you're on the team. Because they got to find a way to collect the money. They got to find a way to keep the money. So if you walk in the door and you want to play and you want to commit, well, you can't let that money just walk out the door if that kid's not any good. You got to find a way to secure it. So you got to have different products. So you got to have an elite product. You have to have like an intermediate product somewhere between elite and then like something that's maybe developmental. So you got something that's developmental, something that's right in the middle, and then something that's elite. And with gym space being at a premium, then you got to find a way to collect as much money as possible so that you can make, you know, you can pay coaches potentially, but so that you can, you know, take care of all your rental, gym fees, admission fees, whatever other fees you need in order to run an AAU program. Especially if you don't have great support from some sort of sponsor or somebody who's willing to donate money to the program. You got to find a way to offset as many costs as possible. So you got to find a way to collect the money. So if you jump on the team, if you are interested, in most cases, if you're interested, somebody will find a space for you. But there are some programs that turn kids away because they just aren't good enough. But there's a lot of teams out there, a lot of opportunities to play. It looks good on paper, but it's deceptive, right? We talk about there being too many games. Because there's so many games, the instincts are at an all-time high. The game develops instincts. When you have to succeed under pressure in a game-like situation, it's going to enhance the instincts, but it does not always enhance the development and skill. Because when you're out there playing 9 times out of 10, you're in survival mode. So you're not always thinking about working on your game. You're thinking about, I got to be in survival mode. I got to find a way to stay on this floor, because if I start doing me too much, if I start trying to work on my game, I might end up on the bench. So with that being said, the instincts develop, but the habits don't. And you can develop the instincts to be, what's the word? You can develop the instincts to be conservative. You can develop conservative instincts. Some people develop aggressive instincts because somebody put the ball in their hands. Somebody empowered that kid and told him, I need you to be my leader. So that kid develops and that kid grows, right? It all depending on what the teachings are, right? All depending on what the information. If someone's telling the kid, hey, shoot it every time, okay, that kid's going to have a lot of confidence. That kid's going to have a lot of instincts. But what happens when that kid has to play on the team and someone's saying you can't shoot every time? Does that kid still succeed? But you might have some coach out there that might be saying, listen, you can be my leader, but you got to take good shots. So if you only get 6 good shots during the game, then those are the ones you take. Now that kid might have the confidence now to go play with better players or lesser players, but he understands or she understands what a good shot is. They respect the game. They respect their green light. So now that kid has been taught how to play. So now, if you want to give that kid the opportunity to explore their game, but you're also making sure that they respect the game and respect their teammates and respect shot selection and things of that nature, Again, now that kid can succeed, but there's a lot of coaches that say, listen, this kid over here, bum, he a bum. I don't want to teach him. I don't want to teach him. It's too difficult. It takes too long to get these kids from point A to point B, to make them a better player, but you already got it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the ball in your hand. We're going to run pick and roll, and I want you to attack. You can pass to that kid, pass to that kid. If they miss a couple shots, don't pass it to them again. So that kid develops some sort of, he develops some sort of psyche, or he develops in some way. But then, again, as soon as he goes to another team and someone is saying, listen, fam, we don't need you to take that many shots. We need you to take better shots. And all of a sudden, his success and his confidence is circumstantial. He or she is only good when they're given the basketball every time down the floor. But when they have to play with other people and be selective and be conservative or be respectful or play within a team concept, all of a sudden they can't play anymore. And that's how a lot of these kids are developed. Or you have another situation where, yeah, you got a kid that's a pretty decent player, but he's put on the team where because he can't dribble, drop, and create his own shot, now it's, well, go stand in the corner. Or score on offensive rebounds. Or you can score off dump offs. But you don't shoot it if you got to create your own shot. Don't dribble any more than once. Don't do this, don't do that. So now you've helped to develop a conservative instinct. Now instead of that kid saying, okay, listen, I know what my limitations are, but I also know what my strengths are. Every time I see an opportunity in this context, I attack and I attack hard. But when I have the basketball in these situations, this is when I'm a little conservative and I'm looking to do these things that may not be as aggressive because I know what my skill sets are. But when I develop that skill set, then I'll start looking to attack in these other areas, right? So at the beginning, they may only have 2 areas or 3 areas in which they can attack, but it may take them a little bit of development for them to find 3 more. But you still are helping that kid show some aggressiveness, and you're still letting that kid know under these circumstances you can be aggressive. And it's not just on putbacks and dump offs. But we see that a lot of coaches train kids that way. And you see that that's what happens when you play so many games. That's the curriculum that kids most get. But see, back in the day, the practices were the practices. Now the games are the practices, but now there's not a lot of opportunities to practice. So kids don't get an opportunity to learn how to play the game in a structured environment that is conducive to making mistakes. Make your mistakes now in practice. Make your mistakes now. Work on your game now within reason. Work on your game now in practice. And let's learn what you can and can't do. Have that coach say, okay, I see what you're trying to do. Let's do it this way. Or do it in this situation. Or you're really good doing it to the left. You got to learn how to do it to the right now. So let's come up with some drills. And let's come up with some ways we can help that kid out. But again, now we play so many games that if you playing the games, we're doing all this travel, that's where all the money goes. And gym space is at a premium because there's so many teams. Can you imagine? Some teams don't even practice, they just show up. Some teams don't practice, they just show up. They got kids coming from all over the state, some teams, and we'll just play. And then you have the coaches. Some of these coaches have zero credibility, zero background. Now, I will commend them because they have the time and they have the commitment and they have the heart to spend time with these kids. And you got some coaches, man, that are picking kids up, picking 3 and 4 kids up, going all over the city to pick these kids up. They're feeding them on the way home. They are providing them with an opportunity to stay out of trouble and giving them some incentive to, do well in school, do well in society. Just be good human beings. And you do see these guys coaching these kids, coaching these kids and telling them, listen, man, your attitude is bad. You can't respond that way to a ref. You can't respond that way to your teammates, right? But you still gotta be able to coach, man. You still gotta be able to. I mean, if you out here playing basketball, you still gotta be able to teach the game. You still gotta be able to coach the game. There's still a responsibility on the coach to get better year after year after year. There's still a responsibility on the coach to go to a coaching clinic, go to a college game, go to a high school game. The thing about the NAIA level, and I've had several coaches contact me, and I've seen several coaches do this. There's a lot of coaches that'll come to our practices. Now, Concordia is in Ann Arbor. Concordia is in Ann Arbor, and it's right in the middle of U of M, which is in Ann Arbor, and then there's Eastern Michigan University, which is in Ypsi, right? Ypsilanti. I don't know if you can go into those practices whenever you want. Sometimes those practices happen in weird hours of the day. Beeline might have this practice at 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock, all depending on when they want to run their practices. Okay, because on a Division I level, it's a little easier to schedule things around basketball because there's so many opportunities for kids to go into different classes, right? But at Concordia, we don't have several of every class that allows for students to that allows us to practice whatever we want. A lot of times we have to practice after 4 and 5 o'clock because we still got kids taking classes throughout the day. So we got to find these little pockets, right? The school doesn't accommodate, Concordia doesn't accommodate its athletes in terms of class schedule. So kids have to take their classes whenever they can, and then we have to run practice whenever we can. There's been times we've run practice at 8 o'clock at night, sometimes later. So with that being said, if you want to learn about basketball, the NAIA level is a greater opportunity because you can go there after hours, you can go there after work, right? And you can be right there. We don't have a huge coliseum, we don't have a huge arena, so you can be right there, right in the action, not obviously participating, but you can get a great feel for how to coach kids. You can hear them, you can see them, you're up close to them. It's a really good opportunity if you're a young coach or if you're an aspiring basketball mind and you want to learn how to run a practice. If you want to learn how to develop guards, develop wings, develop bigs and guards together, in terms of pick and roll situations, drive and kick situations. If you want to learn how do you teach help side defense? How do you teach help side defense? How do you teach help the helper situations? What situations and schemes can you put your kids in so that they rehearse all these different rotations, pick and roll coverage, all these different things that you might not get a chance to get to a Division I college and learn those things, but you can go to a NAIA school, which there's a ton of them in Michigan, and you can learn all this information, right? It's the coach's responsibility to learn these tactics and these ideas. It's on the coach to learn those things, and every year get better and better and better. So that if you are coaching kids who have aspirations to go to college, why not teach them how to hedge a pick and roll when they're in their teens? When they're 11, 12 years old, we're going to learn how to hedge a pick and roll. We're going to learn how to go under. We're going to learn how to switch properly. We're going to learn how to switch on certain pick and rolls, and then we're going to learn how to communicate so that when the basketball goes to the other side of the floor, the people involved in that switch can switch back, right? We're not going to run zone all game. We're not going to run zone all game. We're going to learn how to play man-to-man coverage. We're going to learn how to guard. We're going to learn how to help. We're going to learn how to help the helper. We're going to learn how to fly around and switch. And then when the ball swings and we can switch back, we're going to learn how to switch back so we get to our original lineups so that we don't create mismatches all over the floor. You know what most coaches do? Let's run a zone. Let's trap and go to a zone. You know why people trap and go to a zone? Because it takes a lot of time to learn how to trap, full court press, and then find your man. That takes time. But a lot of coaches don't want to do that. So they said, let's trap and then let's go back to a zone, because it's easy to go back to if you're a guard, to go to the top spots, right? Or if you're a big, to go straight to the middle of the floor. It takes a lot of time to learn. If you're going to be a big and you're going to start on the ball, right? You want to start on the inbounds pass to kind of be a deterrent. And a lot of times you want your big, and in some cases you want your big to trap the ball, because they're one of the biggest people on the floor. It's going to make it difficult for them to pass that ball back out. Well, then can that big now do all that work up top, but then find their man on the back end? It takes a lot of time, man. It takes a lot of work. It takes time, work, and then it takes for the coach to have a progression of drills and situations that help the kids to familiarize themselves with how do you go from point A to point B to point to so on and so on and so forth in terms of making these adjustments and making these rotations. It takes time. Most coaches don't have time. Some coaches have the time, but they still don't have the knowledge to build a program, to build a team collectively, individually and collectively at the same time. So now there's some ownership on the coaches to get better, but there's ways you can get better. But a lot of coaches just say, nah, man, we'll just keep doing what we've been doing because this feels comfortable to me. This feels comfortable to me, so we'll just keep doing what we've been doing. And then there's the development. Your kids aren't being developed properly. Again, there's a lot of coaches that rather turn themselves on and doing sexy drills versus give the kids the foundation that they need to eventually do more elaborate and more sophisticated drills and concepts as they get older. You know, the cool thing about hockey is if you want to play hockey, you got to learn how to skate. If you can't skate, you can't play hockey, right? There's too much money invested, all right? So you have too much money. If you're paying all this money, you know, they care about the developmental process. They care about the developmental process of hockey. So if you want to play hockey, you got to learn how to skate. If you can't skate, you can't play. In basketball, you can be on anybody's team, but you don't have to learn how to. You don't have to know how to dribble. You don't have to learn how to shoot. I mean, look, you got to have a shot from somewhere, right? You don't really have to learn how to be able to pass with either hand. Some kids can barely catch. Right? You don't have to do any of that. You don't have to move off the ball. You don't have to have any idea how do you move off the ball? How do you position yourself so that you are making yourself available, but you're also creating driving lanes for your teammate. Knowing when to cut, when to set a screen, and knowing when to pop, set a screen, knowing when to slip. All right? Or what happens when the team switches? What do? You set a screen, they switch, what do you do? Right? A lot of kids don't know how to do that, but they can still hoop, though. But in hockey, there's some skills you gotta have before you start playing the game. But in basketball, not only do the kids not have any prerequisites, or the coach, they don't either. If you're developing talent, you don't have to have any type of resume, any type of credentials. You can just show up and just say you're doing it. And it's all it takes is a couple kids. All it takes is a parent, a couple kids to jump into it, and then all it takes is another parent to look at it and say, they look like they're doing something. Let's jump in. And there you have it. We have another trainer. We have another person developing basketball talent. And every kid is coming down the floor, dribbling between their legs twice, behind their back twice, crossing over, doing a sham guy, and then going to a step back three. And then those kids go into the game and they do that stuff and they get in trouble because they don't understand the context. They don't understand why are we doing these drills in practice? There's a reason. And then when you start doing these combination moves, there's a context in the game that kids have to understand. In the game, there's situations that might allow for this to happen. But a lot of kids don't understand. The coaches isn't telling these kids under these circumstances, this move might work. Under these circumstances, this might work. Real talk. If you are developing your talent, you should be looking at what are we going to do in our offense? Because we're going to take the shots that we would take in our offense. I just heard Kobe Bryant talking to Jalen Rose yesterday, and he was talking about the 81 game, and Jalen Rose was kind of getting into his brain about the 81 game. He said that summer, leading up to that year, I worked heavily on all the shots that were going to come out of the offense. So I didn't work on my game like I normally work on my game. I was looking at where am I going to catch the basketball in the triangle offense. I'm going to catch it at the elbow. I'm going to catch it at the top of the key. I'm going to catch it on the wing. I'm going to catch it in the corner. And so these are the shots that I'm going to master. So he said when he was playing, when he scored 81, a lot of those shots were just muscle memory. He was hot, number one. He was in the moment, number two. But he said he was just shooting the shots that he'd been working on the whole summer. These are shots that he got in the triangle offense. This is all muscle memory. When I catch the ball, the action happens. When I catch the ball over here, there's action happening. As the action is happening, I get a split second to decide if I want to pass out of this pass to pass to where the offense is creating the opportunity, or if I want to shoot it. Or when the ball is over here, I make my movement over here. Now, when they pass it to me, I can either catch it or I can attack the closeout, whatever the case may be. But he would just say, I was just shooting shots within the offense. And I just so happened to be red hot. But he was working on the shots that come out of the offense. He wasn't just working on random shots. But a lot of coaches coach out of. They don't coach within the offense. They coach out of the offense. Their training it doesn't even have a context attached to it. They're just running people through basketball drills with no understanding of this is what's going to happen in the game. This is why you need this skill. There may be one kid, two kids that can translate what they're doing in training to the hoop onto the hoop floor, and that's because they already are ball handlers. They're already kids that get the ball a lot. But we see that AAU, although it provides a lot of opportunities, a lot of exposure, some great incentives for kids, it can kind of set them back. And now how does it impact the NBA game? Well, in 2015, the world team beat the USA team 121 to 112. In 2016, the Team USA, they won by 3 points, 157 to 154. Last night, 2017, the world team won. Interesting. 150 to 141. And then last night, the world team won again. The world team won again. 155 to 124. I forget who they interviewed at halftime. Oh gosh, I can't remember who they interviewed at halftime. But he said that the USA team are prima donnas. They're not playing hard. The guy said, "Will there be some defense?" He said, "Yeah, the defense will pick up in the fourth quarter." The defense picked up in the third quarter. It picked up for about 5 minutes. The USA team, they were scrambling. You could see them when the guy was driving, they were bodying up. But then all of a sudden, it stopped. It stopped. Because at the end of the day, when you play so many games, you become jaded by competition. But see, the thing about European development is development, game. Development, game. Over in the USA, it's game, development. Game, development. Now you have your special ones that are going to do both. A lot of development, a lot of games. But most kids, it's a lot of games, little development. Overseas, it's a lot of development, few games. Now, the thing that they're missing that we have over in America that gives us the opportunity to do well in the Olympics and do well when you talk about the NBA superstars, majority of them are American players. We got the psyche. We got like the American arrogance, right? We got that thing working for us. Where there's a psyche piece that the European team don't have because it's so team in it, because it's so their process is so team integrated in that they still think team in a lot of situations. Well, over in America, we think me. Like when it's clutch time, I rely on me. My psyche and my ability and myself will help me to trump the opposition. And then we have a few special ones that actually understand the development piece, they understand the game piece, and they also have the psyche piece, and then that trumps the European player. I mean, when was the last time we had a European MVP? When was the last time we had a European MVP? When was the last time we had a European Finals MVP? Doesn't happen very often, because that's when the American psyche comes into play, and it trumps the European psyche. But Giannis Antetokounmpo is coming. Joel Embiid is coming. There's a lot of Euro guys that are coming. But not yet, though. Not yet. And Steve Nash has already come. He's already been there twice, right? Over Shaq, which might be a travesty. Over Shaq, over Chauncey, and probably over Kobe. But we won't go there. So last night, the world team won 155 to 124. How about this? Let's see how many minutes let's see what Joel Embiid did. He played 9 minutes. He scored 5 points, 2 rebounds. So the world team beat the USA team, and the world team's best talent played 9 minutes, scored 5 points, 2 rebounds. That should say something. That should say something to you. If you think this argument that I'm proposing, or this argument that I'm creating, is, I don't know, a little off, think about it. 3 of the last 4 games, they've only been doing this game between the USA and the world team for 4 years. In 3 of the 4 games, the world team has won by a significant margin. This being the biggest margin. And their biggest star barely plays. So that means that Bogdanovich, he's getting busy, 26 points. Joel Embiid, hardly anything. Buddy Hield, he gets busy, 29 points. Marketing, 15 points. Jamal Murray, 21 points. Sabonis, Sabonis, 13 points. 6 for 6, didn't miss. Dario Saric, 18 points. I mean, the list goes on. The list goes on. But our brightest and best players couldn't get the job done. So there's your narrative right there. There's your evidence. There's your evidence. How does it impact the NBA game? Well, we just see it. We've seen it for the last 3 to 4 years. In the year that we finally won one, the USA team, we only beat them by 3 points. We only beat them by 3 points. So it's not a diss song. It's just a real song, and it's a narrative that lets us know although the game has evolved and the game is more fun and it's more wide open, and if you like watching skill, you get a chance to see skill better because the game is so wide open. You don't have 2 bigs clogging up the paint, because if you have 2 bigs clogging up the paint, you got the defender down there, so that's 4 people clogging up the paint. You don't have a bunch of Rip Hamiltons, which I love Rip Hamilton, but you don't have a bunch of Rip Hamilton looking to score points or in the mid range around the free throw line. You know, now the Rip Hamiltons of the Rip Hamiltons now, they're catching the basketball and looking to do what Rip Hamilton used to do on the perimeter on some level. You know, there's guys like Reddick. He's doing what Rip used to do, but he does it on the 3-point line. But you know, you have a lot of guys spacing the floor out. But then also, we've seen that we're noticing that these players aren't as ready as they appear to be. The skill sets aren't as together as they appear to be. Expectations have plummeted, but we still celebrate what's coming out. These guys aren't as they aren't as ready, right? You can't tell me you went from high school, you played 30 games in the college, and now you're ready to contribute on the NBA level in a way that translates into wins. But the NBA still celebrates them. So it's a Jedi mind trick. So you can't just dog every crop of basketball players that are coming out of the draft. You can't dog them all. The NBA has to sell tickets, they have to sell jerseys, they have to sell sponsorships, they have to sell. So at the end of the day, you gotta sell your draft picks. You gotta tell me how good your first, second, third, fourth, fifth. You gotta sell me on how good all these guys are. You gotta tell me how awesome this batch of draft picks are. You gotta tell me that. And then some people are casual NBA fans, so what they start doing, they get Jedi mind tricked into believing that, yeah, this guy's really good. And then because the NBA doesn't create, now if you listen to sports writers, they'll do it, but no one talks about, well, where's this guy 3 years down the line? Oh, wow, he's still losing. Where's this guy 4 years down the line? Oh, wow, he still hasn't figured out his game. He's still losing. You don't hear anything about that. You just hear about the next crop. So you think that every year there's all this talent coming into the league. Yeah, a lot of talent. But have they mastered anything yet? Have they mastered anything? Every now and then you get a few guys. But again, in a lot of situations, you wonder, like, when is this guy's ability going to translate into playoff wins? When is this guy's ability going to translate into league recognition, NBA first team, NBA second team, MVP like numbers? When is it going to translate? When are we going to talk about this guy leading this team to the playoffs? The standards of yesteryear were incredible. When Isaiah Thomas was scoring all the points, they used to say, well, when is he going to start going to the playoffs and doing some damage in the playoffs? Then when he got to the playoffs, it's like, when is he going to beat Magic? When is he going to beat Bird? I'm talking about Isaiah Thomas, like the Isaiah Thomas, Detroit Piston bad boy Isaiah Thomas. When is he going to beat? Only until he won championships, he was able to be mentioned in the name of Larry and Bird. And then after that, same thing with Michael. He's a one man show offensively, but can he win the big game? Can he beat the Pistons? And then finally, when he beat the Pistons and then he beat Magic, then it's like, okay, now you can mention Mike's name with Magic, Larry, and Isaiah. But now these guys get put in a pantheon of NBA supremacy, and their resumes are suspect. They're suspect. Like what has this guy done? Just I heard something yesterday. They asked the question, and I'm like, I won't go there. But it's crazy. So you see now, like, the standards are dropping. The standards are dropping, and now you don't have to be really, really good. You come into the league, and you're going to get celebrated. And I think even the way they celebrate these players, it even makes them, it Jedi mind tricks them into believing that they're a little bit better than what they really are. And then it takes us 6 years down the line to realize, wait a minute, 7 years down the line, this guy's just not making the playoffs? He's just not making the playoffs. Wow, we in year 7 and 8, and he's just now getting to the playoffs. Interesting. It took him 7 years to do that. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, we got somebody like Donovan Mitchell. We got somebody like LaDamian Leonard. We got guys like Stephen Curry. We got guys like CJ McCollum who got busy. Let's say by their third year in the league, they were getting busy. Yeah, Stephen Curry had the ankle injuries, but by his fourth year in the league, by his third or fourth year in the league, he broke the three-point record, and they were definitely in the playoffs. CJ McCollum, I think he was a 4-year guy. If not a 4-year guy, 3-year guy. He sat his first year. He started playing that second year, and by the third year, he was putting the NBA on notice. I can score buckets. And you see what he's doing now. Same thing with Damian Leonard. He's a 4-year guy. And we all know they're just missing another star. They're missing another piece. You see what Donovan Mitchell was doing. People talk a lot about Ben Simmons because he's like the marquee man. He's the guy. We didn't get a chance to see him play last year. He sat out all year. So now we want to see him play this year. But Donovan Mitchell, if he continues to play the way he's playing, scoring points at the end of games the way he's scoring points, leading the team as a rookie, there's no way he doesn't win the Rookie of the Year. And let's not fail to mention, he's an actual true rookie. Ben Simmons been here for a year. I love Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid been in the league for 3 years. No, this is his 4th year. He sat out his first 2 years. Last year he was on minutes restrictions and injured throughout the year and all this other stuff. But now, matter of fact, he played midway through the season or something like that. Now, he's finally playing. This is his 4th year. Man, I hope you should be good. You should be good. You should be nice. But again, we see what happens when you stay in college a little bit and you play in some big game situations and you play in you put in situations you're coached. Donovan Mitchell is good not just because what he could do with the ball, it's what he does without the ball. It's how good he is on defense. He knows how to fly around. He knows how to take high percentage risks. His body developed. In college. Now, some of that's genetic, but he developed in college. He got strong. Now he's like a little fire hydrant. So now when somebody tries to hit him, you run into something. Now, there are some guys, I like Jason Tatum, 1-year guy. You know, there's some 1-year guys that have been able to get busy. But Jason Tatum just so happens to be a part of the Boston infrastructure. You got a great coach. You got a great front office. Got a great system. So he's thriving. De'Aaron Fox, not so much. Like De'Aaron Fox, too. Got a great last name. Dennis Smith. Dennis Smith is doing okay. But again, he got a great coach. Great infrastructure. He playing with some great vets. But that's why those guys have been able to succeed and do some things. Same thing with Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball's game is different because he ain't trying to hold the ball too long at all. He want to get rid of the ball. But there's a lot of guys in the league. Kuzma, another one. Kuzma, he developed. He developed in college. I got to do my research on that, but I think he played a couple years, and because he played a couple years, he's been able to play. Kawhi Leonard, same thing. Played a couple years. And he came out in a great situation, but he was at least ready to contribute on small levels. But now we see what his play is translated to. I think within 3 years of his career, he won the Finals MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, shortly thereafter, and then after that, he was top 5 in MVP voting because he got foundation from Coach Fisher. Got foundation. So that's it, man. Just wanted to, I thought it was just ironic that after my rant yesterday, I look at the USA World Game and I see that the USA team loses, 1, but 2, I see that The world team didn't even play Joel Embiid. They played him 9 minutes, and they still got smashed. And I think there's some truth to the impact that the NBA, that the AAU game is having on our superstars. Sure, we got Kevin Durant. Sure, we got Stephen Curry. Sure, we got Russell Westbrook. Sure, we got LeBron James. Sure, those guys are special. You could have put those guys on Mars. They would have figured it out. Somehow they would have stumbled upon the right way to play the game. There's some environmental content, sure. But those guys would have figured it out no matter what. Right? But when we talk about the game overall, when we talk about those intermediate players, not the NBA superstars, because they got the psyche. We're talking about those intermediate players. Let's say the Tim Hardaway Jr. player. Yeah. That's the player that's like, something ain't right. Kent Bazemore, something ain't right. You getting paid a lot of money, man, and we realize all you can do is really just shoot a corner three when you wide open, and that's it. You can't really dribble. You can't create your own shot. You can't get us into the offense. You got very few. You only offensive game you got, only one-on-one moves you got is a step back. Everything you do evolves into a step back, or you can attack a closeout. You can finish on a break, but in terms of being a legitimate two-guard, you suspect. All of our bigs, suspect. Like you gotta be Cat, you gotta be Karl Anthony Towns to be a big. What happened to just the solid big? Our solid bigs look like Miles Plumlee. He's a downgrade. He's a poor man's DeAndre Jordan. Or it's either that or you get DeMarcus Cousins. There's no middle ground. There's no middle ground where the guys are just fundamentally sound. They can do a little bit of everything they can do a little bit of everything. They can dribble, pass, and score, move without the ball and catch. And that's what we're missing, the middle ground. Our superstars are intact. And sometimes it takes our superstars time to figure it out, but our superstars are pretty good. But it's something about that middle ground basketball player that gets to the league, and it's sensational. They kick my butt, but we judging them by the standard that they're on and the level that they're on. So that's it. So as I said before, we're going to start working on getting some interviews and interviewing some people so you can hear some different voices and not hear my voice and whatnot. But just wanted to talk some basketball, and so I'm done. Greatness lives on the edge of death. I am not afraid to die. I will fight for my brother. I will fight for my dreams. I will celebrate my dreams, and I will die for my dreams. Thoughts are things, and everything starts off as a thought first and springs from a place of mindfulness and clarity. I am Mark Fikes Jr. The world team scored 122 points. No, the world team 150 points, 155 points, and the USA team did not. And I'm blaming AAU on it. And I'm done. Mark Fikes Jr. Take care.